Living in Sunnyside Estates wasn't my first choice, but the location was perfect for commuting. The nearby walking trails made it even better for Maverick, my service dog. Maverick is a golden retriever trained to help me manage PTSD from my military service. He's incredibly disciplined, always wears his service vest, and never disobeys a command. I know the Americans with Disabilities Act inside and out. When you rely on a service animal, it's essential. But I never thought I'd have to bring it up to my HOA president. The first time I met Karen Whitfield, she had a clipboard in hand and a scowl that seemed permanently glued to her face. She introduced herself as the HOA president with a tone that screamed authority. "I don't believe I approved a dog in this community," she said, eyes fixed on Maverick. I politely explained he was a service dog, not a pet, and therefore exempt from pet restrictions under federal law. She muttered something about people finding loopholes and walked off. Over the next few weeks, I received 3 notices for supposed violations. My grass was an inch too tall, my mailbox was the wrong shade of black, and my trash can was visible for 45 minutes after pickup. Each letter had Karen's signature, complete with a passive-aggressive smiley face. I followed all the rules, trying not to stir the pot, but I had a feeling this wasn't the end. At the next HOA meeting, Karen proposed a new rule. All animals, including service animals, had to be registered with the board and wear HOA-approved ID. I raised my hand to mention that this conflicted with federal law. She cut me off. "Federal laws don't override community standards," she snapped. Nobody backed me up. After the meeting, she walked over and whispered, "If you want to be difficult, I can be difficult too." That weekend, I was enjoying a quiet morning on my porch. Maverick lay at my feet as I read the paper. Then a shadow crossed my lawn. Karen stood there in her signature khaki shorts and polo shirt, holding a spray bottle. "Your dog is violating the new ordinance," she said loudly. I calmly reminded her the rule hadn't been enacted yet, and that Maverick was protected under federal law. Her face turned red. "I'm tired of you military types thinking you're above the rules." Then, without warning, she stepped forward and sprayed Maverick in the face with something. He yelped and backed away, pawing at his eyes. I jumped up, stood between them, and demanded to know what she sprayed him with. "Just vinegar and water," she said with a smirk. "It won't hurt him, but maybe now he'll respect authority." I was furious, but I kept my cool. I rushed Maverick inside, rinsed his eyes, and made sure he was okay. Thankfully, there was no permanent damage. Then I called the police. I explained everything and emphasized that interfering with a service dog is a federal offense. 20 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. I showed them Maverick's certification and pointed out Karen's house. One officer stayed with me while the other spoke with her. From my window, I watched Karen rant and wave her arms. The officer didn't seem impressed. When they came back, they told me Karen admitted to spraying Maverick. She claimed she was enforcing HOA rules, but they let her know that what she did was a federal crime and also considered animal cruelty. They were placing her under arrest and asked if I wanted to press charges. I didn't hesitate. Karen was led to the police car in handcuffs, screaming about having me evicted and turning the neighborhood against me. Neighbors came out to watch. One whispered, "She's finally gone too far." Another apologized for not speaking up at the meeting. "We've all been intimidated by her," she said. Karen was charged with interference with a service animal, animal cruelty, and harassment. In court, she showed up in designer clothes with an expensive lawyer, but the evidence was overwhelming. The judge was stern. He emphasized that no community rules override federal disability laws. While she waited for trial, the HOA called an emergency meeting. Nearly everyone showed up. The board voted unanimously to remove Karen. Her nameplate was already gone. She eventually pled guilty to a reduced charge. Her sentence? 30 days in jail, a $5,000 fine, 200 hours of community service at an animal shelter, and mandatory disability rights education. As the sentence was read, her face went from shock to anger to something like regret. "But I was just enforcing the rules," she said. The judge replied, "The most important rule is to respect the law of the land." As Karen was led away, we locked eyes. The entitlement was gone. She mouthed something that might have been, "This isn't over," but we both knew it was. Maverick sat beside me, calm and steady. I scratched behind his ears. Together, we'd weathered the storm and come out stronger on the other side. Moral of the story? Respect isn't about power, titles, or clipboards. It's about understanding the laws that protect others and having the decency to honor them. No one, no HOA president, no neighbor, no self-appointed enforcer, is above the law. Especially when it comes to people living with disabilities and the service animals that give them freedom, peace, and protection. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share it with family and friends. Thank you.